What is up, everyone? Jeremy here. Welcome to another video in the tone sample series. In this video, we are doing a comparison of 5153 amp sims from the Neural DSP QuadCortex, STL Amp Hub plugin, ML SoundLab Amped Roots plugin, and then we're going to throw Archetype Nollie's 5150 in there as well for fun. Now, to do this, I set up a full mix ready to go so we can hear all of these amp sims in context. And before we hear it, I want to go ahead and walk through all the settings, the entire signal chain with you so you know how everything was set up. So let's jump into that now. Okay, so this was tracked using my Solar A1.7D with the stock Solar Duncan pickups. That was going into the Aris Effects Brutal Boost, going into the Neural DSP QuadCortex, into the Mac, into the DAW. Now, when I tracked this, you're able to track both a DI signal and a processed signal at the same time in separate tracks from the QuadCortex, which is what I did. So, in order to ensure that I was getting an even comparison as closely as possible across all the amp sims and the tones I'm getting from the QuadCortex, here's what I did. As you can see on the Cortex here, there are two different signal paths. And the first one does not have the amp and the impulse response section activated. It's just everything in front of the amp. And this is the processed DI signal that I recorded and then run through the amp sims, the STL Amp Hub, Amped Roots, and Archetype Nollie. And that is so that I get the exact same DI signal that I'm running through the Neural DSP 5150 amp here. So as you can see, everything in front of the amp is the exact same, and the amp is this red thing here. So this is the amp, everything in front of it is the exact same. And so quickly running through that, I have an adaptive gate here. We have some EQ just to kind of shape our DI signal a little bit, cutting off some lows, and then boosting up around 1.4K, boosting up a little bit of the highs, and a low and a high pass. That's essentially what's happening there. Then an opto compressor just to kind of smooth out some of the woofiness you get with those low chugs. Going into my neural capture of the Aris Effects Brutal Boost. So I don't necessarily need the pedal because I've already captured it and I can put it in here anywhere I want. So that is what I use to record a processed DI signal that I then ran through the amp sims in the DAW to make sure I'm getting an even comparison across everything. Now the amp settings are the exact same across all amp sims in the DAW and the QuadCortex. And quickly, those are 2.6 on the gain, 3.7 on bass, 5.9 on the mids, and 5.5 on treble. And that is essentially it. Now, the last thing is all of these, everything that you're about to hear is using the exact same impulse response. And it is a free impulse response you can download right now, in fact, from ariseffects.com. I have a video on my channel if you want to check out the entire pack and see what they sound like. I'll put a link up here in the corner. You can go right to check that out. Specifically, the one that I'm using here is the V30 number 2. And if you download this pack, what you'll see is there are 3 folders. There's Brutal, Gent, and Modern. This is one from the Modern folder. It's called V30 number 2. That is the impulse response used on everything. So, literally the only difference in everything you're about to hear is just the amp sim itself. The processed DI signal going into the amp sim is the exact same. They are going after the amp sim is going into the exact same impulse response. So it's just the amp sim that is the difference between these tones. All right, and one last thing I want to point out here is you're going to hear some like ambient guitar in here, kind of like it'll have some delay and reverb on it. In fact, I'll solo it, and you can hear this is what it sounds like. Okay, that is not running through this processing. What is running through the processing is the rhythm tone. This is specifically the heavy chugging rhythm tone, and I'll solo that here so you can hear it just here briefly. It is this. Okay, it is the chugging rhythm tone. So that is what you need to be paying attention to. That's what we're doing the comparison on. We'll do future videos on other tones with like the ambient tones, clean tones, lead tones. But for this video, it is a comparison of rhythm tones. So that is what we are focused on today. Getting to it, the order is going to be STL Amp Hub, then ML SoundLab Amped Roots, then QuadCortex. Then we're going to circle back and listen to the Archetype Nollie 5150 amp for fun. So let's go ahead and kick this off with the AmpHub plugin, and here it is. This is what it sounds like in context. All right, that is AmpHub. Now I'm going to quickly change out the plugins, and we have ML Sound Lab Amped Roots up next. Here is what it sounds like. All right, that is Amped Roots. Let's go to the QuadCortex now. Switching them out. All right, here we go. This is the Neural DSP QuadCortex. QuadCortex for you right there. All right, so circling back to the process DI signal to check out Archetype Nollie's modified block letter 5150 in here. It's not a 5153 like all the others we just checked, but as I mentioned, just for fun, just to kind of see how this compares to the other ones, this is Archetype Nollie. And there it is, Archetype Nollie. All right, y'all, that is the comparison. So before I give you any of my thoughts, pause the video, drop down in the comments, and hit me with your thoughts. Which one did you prefer? Which one do you think sat the best in the mix? Again, these are all the exact same settings. I mentioned it at the beginning of the video. The settings on all these amp sims are the exact same. So which one do you think sounded the best? Which one fit in the mix the best? Which one sounded the best to you? Hit me in the comments and let me know which one was the winner for you. For me, and it's not just because it's my fancy new toy. The QuadCortex, the tone that comes out of this thing just sounds so crushing, but also so real. Like, it literally sounds like it's pushing, like a speaker pushing air to me. I don't know. I mentioned this in a past video, but it's the realism out of it is just next level. And I truly think like this thing is just, it sounds so good, so smooth, but so crushing. Obviously, it was a hard choice. And I'll tell you which one actually surprised me, because it's been a long time since I've even opened this plugin, is the Amped Roots, the ML Sound Lab Amped Roots. I was not expecting this thing to sound as good as it did. I was kind of blown away. I mean, it does sound really good. I will say it is the furthest from sounding like all the rest. So all the others, the AmpHub, you know, and the Cortex, especially even the Nollie, even though it's technically a different amp, those all sound fairly similar. There are differences, but fairly similar. And then the ML Sound Lab kind of sounds quite a bit different from those, but overall it sounds pretty good. So those are my thoughts. But again, I'm more interested in what you thought. So again, hit the comments and let me know. Did you like this video? Do you like this content? If so, hit that like button down below, hit share, tell a friend, maybe they would dig it too. If you're not subscribed to my channel, I would ask you to please consider subscribing. I've got a lot more content lined up similar to this, ready to go. So hit that subscribe button right down below. Don't forget to hit the bell so you're notified when I upload those new videos. And as always, thank you for watching and thank you for your support.